Hello everybody, Maven here, and today I present to you the ultimate endgame Prismatic Titan build. We are using the brand new exotic class item combining the exotic perks of the Heart of Inmost Light and the Star Eater scales to give us the best balance of ability uptime as well as damage output. Now over the past year, it's been tough to keep up with the power of Strand Titan, which did just receive some nerfs by the way, and over the past 5 years, it's been tough to keep up with the power of Solar Titan. But finally with Prismatic, we have something else that can compete with those top dogs. So let's break it down. Hope you enjoy. So like I said, we're combining the exotic perks of Heart of Inmost Light and Star Eater scales. Now the reason that Heart of Inmost Light is so good on Prismatic Titan specifically is because it works extremely well with consecration. So as you can see here, when you consecrate, your initial fire wave and then your slam afterwards count as two separate abilities, thus triggering empowerment ×2, your other abilities doubling their regenerate. And Prismatic Titan is able to spam consecration way more than Solar Titan because of the triple frenzy blade charges. And then Star Eater scales is drastically going to boost our super damage. So how much damage, you may ask? Well, I first did a test on Charles. Don't worry, we'll get to Frisia later. So with Charles, I did my combo that we're doing with this build, and I was able to one-shot him with the Twilight Arsenal, and that actually blew my mind. I've done a lot of tests against Charles before, and I know that he's an absolute tank. And just to put into perspective of how much damage that actually was, I'm going to shoot him with my entire base reserves of Apex Predator, and I'm gonna proc bait and switch, and we do not kill him with all 7 of our rockets with bait and switch active. And he's still left with a noticeable amount of health left. So Twilight Arsenal Star Eaters is no joke. It absolutely slaps. So now let's get into some actual damage numbers. We're gonna go up against Frisia, the ogre boss of Grasp of Avarice, and we're gonna start off with the Crest of the Falling Star Thunder Crash for comparison, and we get 538,000 to set the bar. And then we're gonna test out the base Twilight Arsenal, no exotics helping it, no buffs or debuffs, just the super alone, and we hit for 362,000, which is quite a bit less than the Falling Star Thunder Crash, but it's not that bad considering we didn't use an exotic for it, and also we get the axes to play with. And then we're going to try it out with Star Eater scales ×6, and you can already see those damage numbers jumping way higher than they were before. And we hit for a grand total of 616,000, which is about 80,000 more than the Falling Star Thunder Crash. But now we're going to try it out with Facet of Courage. It boosts the damage of your light abilities against targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. Now we do have our Frenzied Blade we can use, which severs targets, but maybe there's a situation where we don't have it charged, or the enemy is too far away, or it's an enemy we don't want to get close to. And it's because of this that our weapon of choice with this build is going to be the Final Warning Sidearm. When you hit a marked target with the fully charged burst, it will unravel them. That is a darkness debuff. So it synergizes very well with Prismatic, Facet of Courage, Star Eater setups, not only on Titan, but on all 3 characters. And this thing did just get a brand new catalyst as well, and it's a monster, but this is a topic for another video, which we'll probably do in the near future. So let's go up against the Ogre, mark him, hit him with the charge shot. We don't need to hit with the entire bursts. Literally just one shot is all it takes to unravel to boost our super damage, and we end up with a grand total of 695,000. So when we went from Falling Star to Star Eaters, we jumped 80,000, and from Star Eaters to Courage, we jumped another 80,000. So we're climbing 80,000 at a time, but let's move on because we have one more thing to try out. So there is an artifact mod this season called Expanding Abyss. This is void sources deal increased damage to weakened targets. Now there is a fragment called Facet of Dominance. It says your void grenades weaken targets and your arc grenades jolt targets. But who in the right mind is willingly going to run suppressor nades in PvE? I mean, it's okay, but it's not that fun. I'm using pulse grenades to jolt because it's very good for ad clear and also light transcendent energy. So instead, to weaken targets, we are going to try out the tractor cannon, which is going to give an even bigger 30% debuff and also proc Expanding Abyss at the same time to give us a bunch of extra damage. So let's try it out. So because tractor cannon is exotic, we can't run Final Warning, so we're going to have to combo it with the Frenzied Blade to cause Sever and just cast our Twilight Arsenal point blank like we did against Charles earlier. And we hit for 873,000, and that does more than all 7 of your bait and switch Apex Predator rockets. It hits like a truck. So this is a loadout that's very great for general play, Final Warning, Indebted Kindness, and Cataphract for damage. However, if you did want to run a tractor cannon setup, I could see going something like the Call, the Zali's Bane, and the Tractor. That could do fine as well. If you're doing a raid boss damage phase and you want it to be the designated tractor cannon person so you can do that insane combo, you can just run like a scatter signal as your DPS. You can just go Tractor, Frenzied Blade to Sever, Caster Twilight Arsenal, and then just like do DPS with Scatter Signal with Overflow and Controlled Burst. But the reason that I've been having a lot of success with this loadout, I mean, obviously you know why the Final Warning is so good, but Final Warning and Indebted Kindness and the Facet of Dominance, like Jolting Pulse Grenades, are very, very good for getting Light and Darkness Transcendent Energy. And as you know, when you are on a Prismatic subclass, like the strongest thing you can do is transcend. So we want to be able to do that as quick as possible. And this loadout is extremely good for that. So let me show you against Carl real quick. So in this clip, I don't even remember if I had the Final Warning Catalyst or not. It doesn't look like I did, so it would be even stronger than it already is. But look at my Darkness Transcendent Energy just zooming up. It only takes like 2 mags to fully charge. And when it comes to Light Transcendent Energy, I'm just going to throw that Jolting Pulse Grenade and fire away with my Indebted Kindness, and my Light Energy just absolutely zooms up. The Rocket sidearms are extremely good for energy. So with that in mind, it's also not a bad idea to go with like the Call along with like Trinity Ghoul or Sunshot. I found these to be pretty solid for farming up Light Transcendent Energy. Trinity Ghoul has 3 separate arrows in it, which like counts like individually, just farming a ton of Light Transcendent Energy. Same goes for like Wish Ender if you're doing endgame content with barrier champions. This is also extremely good for farming both light and dark at the same time. Now I only have tier 3 intellect, but if you wanted to go with the more super oriented setup, you can hit tier 7 intellect and go with like Bad Juju. It's also very good for farming up energy, and it just absolutely slays out after that pulse buff. This thing is absolutely insane. And now let's break down the build here, starting with our fragments. We got Facet of Blessing, Melee Final Blow, Starred Health Regeneration, which for some reason doesn't proc with Consecration, but it will work with Frenzied Blade and your normal melees. And then we got Facet of Dominance we talked about, Courage we talked about. Facet of Ruin increases the size and damage of the burst of shattering a frozen target or a Solar Ignition, which both Diamond Lance and Consecration do, which is awesome. Facet of Balance helps us recharge our abilities. Rapid Light Final Blows grant melee energy. Rapid Dark Final Blows grant grenade energy, which is good with Consecration and Final Warning. And then there is Facet of Bravery. Defeating targets with a powered melee Final Blow grants unraveling rounds to your strand weapons, which is good for our Final Warning. And like I said, we got Diamond Lance, and something that I don't do enough is if you Frenzied Blade a target, you make both a Diamond Lance and a Tangle on their body, and you can just stand there and lob both of those. I don't really do that as much as I should, but it just gives you some free ammunition for ad clear. And then we have Thruster here just because it has the quicker cooldown, and that ties into our mod setup here because we are running Bomber on our class set and we want to proc that as quick as possible. Now I'll probably show some background gameplay while I break down the rest of the mod setup just so you have something to look at. And by the way, in the background gameplay today, I probably showed a lot of Grandmaster Excision gameplay, which, as you know, everything in there is a tank. Every single enemy in that mode is like a raid boss. And I did Grandmaster Excision on Titan, Hunter, and Warlock, and I'm not just saying this for the video, but Titan was definitely the best of the 3. You can see just how spammy it is, how we're able to absolutely spam Consecration left and right and get Transcendent really easily and just spam those suspending grenades. Now, something that I didn't do that I should have done is in a situation like this in high level content, you can take off Facet of Dominance and the pulse grenades and instead run a different fragment and run shackle grenades, so you have even more suspend, which is good for champions and stuff. But anyways, mod setup. This mod setup is based around 2 things, ability spam and mainly orb generation, because obviously it being a Star Eater scale setup, we want a lot of orbs. So that's why we have 2 different siphons on our helmet. We have a Strand Siphon and Arc Siphon for our Final Warning and our Indebted Kindness, because double kills will make orbs. And then we have Heavy Handed on our gloves, so our powered melees make orbs. And we have Reaper on our class item, so we dodge with our thruster, and our next kill is going to make an orb. And we can scoop up those orbs easily with Powerful Attraction. So this setup has been making it really easy to get ×6 on Star Eaters. But when we pick up these orbs, we're also getting our abilities back with Absolution and Invigoration on our boots. And then we're also getting some health back with Recuperation, which is really important. Because something that I've noticed with this build, its main downside, its one weakness, is that it doesn't have like an actual true method of survivability other than just recuperation and picking up orbs. That's the one downside. Anyways, we got 3 different resists on our chest. I got melee, arc, and solar. You can swap out accordingly depending on your activity. And then finally, I got a copy of Heavy Ammo Finder on my helmet. And because my Indebted Kindness, and probably your Indebted Kindness too, has a lead from gold on it, having one heavy ammo finder is very, very necessary when you are using lead from gold. Now for the stat setup, I tried to hit triple 100s in resilience, discipline, and strength, and I got extremely close but couldn't quite hit it. More power to you if you can. I would just say prioritize having a minimum of 30 intellect and a minimum of 100 resilience. That is what matters most. After that, if you want to prioritize strength or discipline, it's really up to you. I prefer discipline. And one last thing, if you wanted to run a barricade instead of thruster, that's also fine as well. I just prefer the ability spam. And one last maybe for this build is running the no hesitation auto rifle for healing, because like I said, healing is definitely this build's biggest weakness. It doesn't have a lot of ways to heal, but it is a monster at damage and high level ad clear. But when it comes to Prismatic Titan, this is probably as good as it gets. I mean, me personally, I haven't seen any Prismatic Titan build stronger than this one, but maybe there is one out there. If you know what it is, let me know down below in the comments. But as always, the dim loadout link to this build will be down below in the description, and also the pinned comment if you'd like to give it a try. And if you got any buddies who are Titan mains, I'd appreciate if you share the video with them. I'm sure they find it useful. And that's gonna do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to drop a like and a comment, because those two actions really please the algorithm gods. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing, as we are extremely close to hitting 50k subs, and you can help me get there, and thank you so much if you do. And with that, I will catch you in the next video. See you later.